Welcome to Wikipedipodcast, the podcast where I read through a Wikipedia article. Today we're talking about snails. A snail is, in loose terms, a shelled gastropod. The name is most often applied to land snails, terrestrial pulmonate gastropod mollusks. However, the common name snail is also used for most of the members of the molluscan class gastropoda that have a coiled shell that is large enough for the animal to retract completely into. When the word snail is used in this most general sense, it includes not just land snails, but also numerous species of sea snails, and freshwater snails. Gastropods that usually lack a shell or have only an internal shell, are mostly called slugs. And land snails that have only a very small shell that they cannot retract into are often called semi-slugs. I've never heard of a semi-slug. Also, I didn't know that slugs had shells inside of them. That's gross. Snails have considerable human relevance, including as food items, as pests, and as vectors of disease. And their shells are used as decorative objects and are incorporated into jewelry. The snail has also had some cultural significance, tending to be associated with patience. The snail has also been used as a metaphor. Someone who is not moving fast enough is slow as a snail. The snail is the same or similar shape as the cochlea. Is that how you say it? I don't know. Overview. Snails that respire using a lung belong to the group Pulmonata. As traditionally defined, the Pulmonata were found to be polyphyletic in a molecular study per Jorgen et al., dating from 2010. But snails with gills also form a polyphyletic group. In other words, snails with lungs and snails with gills form a number of taxonomic groups that are not necessarily more closely related to each other than they are related to some other groups. Okay, so basically they're just the same. They got a lot in common. They're bros. Both snails that have lungs and snails that have gills have diversified so widely over geological time that a few species with gills can be found on land, and numerous species with lungs can be found in fresh water. Even a few marine species have lungs. Snails can be found in a very wide range of environments, including ditches. I'm so glad we started with ditches. Just fucking roll a snail in a ditch. You know, I was expecting something more like forests in arboreal forests or lush jungles or no, just fucking ditches, dude. Anyways, they can be found in ditches, deserts, and the abyssal depths of the sea. Oh my gosh, who wrote this? It sounds like a fucking Sultan Sanctuary line. The abyssal depths of the sea. Anyways, although land snails may be more familiar to laymen, marine snails constitute the majority of snail species and have much greater diversity and a greater biomass. Numerous kinds of snails can also be found in freshwater. Whoever wrote this paragraph, I love them. They're great. They also fucking diss people because they're like, hey, all you losers who call land snails snails, there's actually more marine snails. So, fuck you. I wish I could ever find out who wrote that paragraph. Anyways. Most snails have thousands of microscopic tooth-like structures located on a banded ribbon-like tongue called a radula. The radula works like a file, ripping food into small pieces. Many snails are herbivores, eating plants or rasping algae from surfaces with their radulae, because plural, though a few land species and many marine species are omnivores or predatory carnivores. What? Snails cannot absorb colored pigment when eating paper or cardboard. So their feces are also colored. Oh, okay. So yes, they don't take in the coloring. They just poop it right back out. Okay. Also, predatory carnivore snails. That's something I wasn't expecting. Several species of the genus Achatina are genera are known. Oh, and related genera are known as giant African land snails. Some grow to 15 inches, 38 centimeters, from snout to tail and weigh 1 kilogram or 2 pounds. Why'd they do it like that? That doesn't make sense. Anyways, the largest living species of sea snail is Syrinx aranus. Its shell can measure up to 90 centimeters, 35 inches in length, and the whole animal with the shell can weigh up to 18 kilograms or 40 pounds. Holy shit. That's like a child. That's a child right there. The snail Limene makes decisions by using only two types of neurons, one deciding whether the snail is hungry and the other deciding whether there is food in the vicinity. Wow. Okay, so, man, this is so interesting. There's fucking snail, it literally has only got 2 brain cells, and it's just like, food? Nope, there's no food. Okay. Is there food? Let's eat. The largest known land gastropod is the African giant snail, Achatina. What? What the fuck? Who names it that? It's the Achatina. It's just literally the word twice. Why? The largest recorded specimen of which measured 39.3 centimeters, 15.5 inches from snout to tail when fully extended, with a shell length of 27.3 centimeters or 10.7 inches in December 1978. It weighed exactly 900 grams or 2 pounds. Named G. Geronimo, this snail was owned by Christopher Hudson, 1955 through 79, of Hove, East Sussex, UK, and was collected in Sierra Leone in June 1976. Wow, that's great. G. Geronimo, the one true snail man. Okay, slugs. Why is there slugs? Anyways, I guess because they're... Never mind. Let's get into it. Let's find out. Slugs. Gastropods that lack a conspicuous shell are commonly called slugs rather than snails. Some species of slug have a maroon-brown shell. Some have only an internal vestige that serves mainly as a calcium lactate repository, and others have some to no shell at all. Other than that, there is little morphological difference between slugs and snails. There are, however, important differences in habitats and behavior. A shellless animal is much more maneuverable and compressible. So even quite large land slugs can take advantage of habitats or retreats with very little space. Retreats that would be inaccessible to a similar-sized snail. Slugs squeeze themselves into confined spaces, such as under loose bark on trees or under stone slabs, logs, or wooden boards lying on the ground. In such retreats, they are in less danger from either predators or desiccation. Those are often suitable places for laying their eggs. What is desiccation? I don't really know. New words. Slugs as a group are far more monophyletic. Scientifically speaking, slug is a term of convenience with little taxonomic significance. The reduction or loss of the shell has evolved many times independently within several very different lineages of gastropods. The various taxa of land and sea gastropods with slug morphology occur within numerous higher taxonomic groups of shelled species. Such independent slug taxa are not in general closely related to one another. Okay. My brain just blanked on that entire paragraph. Human relevance. Land snails are known as an agricultural and garden pest, but some species are an edible delicacy and occasionally household pets. I've never eaten one, and I don't think I ever want to. They just look weird. Maybe it was cut up or something, prepared in a really nice way. Okay, in agriculture, there are a variety of snail control measures that gardeners and farmers use in an attempt. Restarting. In agriculture, there are a variety of snail control measures that gardeners and farmers use in an attempt to reduce damage to valuable plants. Traditional pesticides are still used, as are many less toxic control options such as concentrated garlic or wormwood solutions. Copper metal is also a snail repellent, and thus a copper band around the trunk of a tree will prevent snails from climbing up and reaching the foliage and fruit. I didn't know that. I wonder why. A layer of a dry, finely ground and scratchy substance such as diatomaceous earth can also deter snails. I have no idea what that is. The decollate snail, Rumina decollata, that sounds delicious, will capture and eat garden snails, and because of this, it has sometimes been introduced as a biological pest control agent. However, this is not without problems, as the decollate snail is just as likely to attack and devour other gastropods that may present a valuable part of the native fauna of the region. Cool. So it's just like, here, introduce this invasive sort of predator, and then, oh, whoops, they accidentally ate too much, and now your farmland's fucked. Okay, as food, I'm interested in this portion. In French cuisine, edible snails are served, for instance, in escargot, a la bourguignon. The practice of rearing snails for food is known as heliculture. Heliculture? For purpose of cultivation, the snails are kept in a dark place in a wired cage with dry straw or dry wood. Capiste wine grapevines are often used for this purpose. During the rainy period, the snails come out of hibernation and release most of their mucus onto the dry wood or straw. The snails are then prepared for cooking. Their texture when cooked is slightly chewy and tender. Just right when they said the word mucus, I just completely turned off from the idea of eating it. They just... mucus. Okay. Let's keep going. As well as being relished as a gourmet food, several species of land snails provide an easily harvested source of protein to many people in poor communities around the world. Many land snails are valuable because they can feed on a wide range of agricultural wastes, such as shed leaves in banana plantations. In some countries, giant African land snails are produced commercially for food. Oh, wow. Land snails, freshwater snails, and sea snails are all eaten in many countries. In certain parts of the world, snails are fried, as for example in Indonesia. They are fried as satay, a dish known as satay kakul. Sounds pretty cool. Okay, you guys can leave now. The eggs of certain snail species are eaten in a fashion similar to the way caviar is eaten. In Bulgaria, snails are traditionally cooked in an oven with rice or fried in a pan with vegetable oil and red paprika powder. Before they are used for those dishes, however, they are thoroughly boiled in hot water for up to 90 minutes and manually extracted from their shells. The two species most commonly used for food in either country are Helix locorum and Helix pomatia. So there you go, that's a trivia question. What kind of snails are eaten? Oh, let's see what this is. Famine food. Snails and slug species that are not normally eaten in certain areas have occasionally been used as a famine food in historical times. A history of Scotland, written in the 1800s, recounts a description of various snails and their use as food items in times of plague. Well, hey, maybe everyone out there, go pick up some snails, COVID's not going anywhere right now, so let's start farming some snails. How about it, huh? Cosmetic. Skin creams derived from Cornu aspersum snails are sold for use on wrinkles, scars, dry skin, and acne. A research study suggested that secretions produced under stress by Cornu aspersa might facilitate regeneration of wounded tissue. That doesn't seem very tested. Okay, cultural depictions, symbolism. Because of its slowness, the snail has traditionally been seen as a symbol of laziness. In Christian culture, it has been used as a symbol of the deadly sin of sloth. Well, that's stupid. Psalms 58:8 uses snail slime as a metaphorical punishment. In Mayan mythology, the snail is associated with sexual desire, being personified by the god Oyeb. Also, just saying, that doesn't make any sense. That snails are what? For the deadly sin of sloth? What? Why isn't it a sloth? Why is it a snail? Why would they do that? I'm getting heated over the fucking snails. Divination and other religious uses. Snails were widely noted and used in divination. The Greek poet Hesiod wrote that snails signified the time to harvest by climbing the stalks, while the Aztec moon god Tezcatl bore a snail shell on his back. The symbolized rebirth. The snail's penchant for appearing and disappearing was analogized? Wait, what? That's with the moon. I don't know how to say that. I know what they mean, but I don't know how to say that word. Love darts and Cupid. What? Professor Ronald Chase of McGill University in Montreal has suggested the ancient myth of Cupid's arrow might be based on early observations of the love dart behavior of the land snail species Cornu aspersum. What is that? I have no idea what that is. Do they love dart each other? Okay, anyways. Metaphor. In contemporary speech, the expression, a snail's pace, is often used to describe a slow, inefficient process. The phrase snail mail is used to mean regular postal service delivery of paper messages as opposed to delivery of email, which can be virtually instantaneous. Wow. They really just explained what snail mail is. In Indonesian mythology, Kyong MS, Havanese, and Indonesian for golden snail, is a popular Havanese folklore. It's Havanese, right? Not Javanese. It's totally Havanese. Anyways, Havanese folklore about a princess magically transformed and contained in a golden snail shell. The folklore is a part of popular Havanese Panji cycle, telling the stories about the Prince Panji Asmoro Bangun, also known as Raden Inu Karatap. Karatap? Is that what I said? Kartapati. And his consort Princess Dewey. Malcolm, where's Malcolm? Dewey Sekartati. Also known as Dewey Chandra Kirana. That's way easier. I'm gonna call her that. Textiles. Certain varieties of snails, notably the family Merakidae, produce a secretion that is a color-fast natural dye. The ancient Tyrian purple was made in this way, as were other purple and blue dyes. The extreme expense of extracting this secretion is sufficient quantities limited its use to the very wealthy. It is such dyes as these that led to certain shades of purple and blue being associated with royalty and wealth. And finally, as pets. Throughout history, snails have been kept as pets. There are many famous snails, such as Lefty, born Jeremy. What is that about? And within fiction, Gary and Brian the Snail. I'm assuming Gary, they're referring to SpongeBob. All right, well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Like, subscribe, all the shit. Have a garbage day.